Man, what an interesting day yesterday. I really had a situation that I didn't know how to handle, and it was interesting trying to understand how I felt about it. So, our daughter had this opportunity to go to New York, and it was really an amazing opportunity because her friend's mother was going to take her daughter and some friends to New York, and was really going to we had to, anyways, make a long story short, it was a really exciting opportunity for Chloe. And, but it was going to cost $500, which is, we're the type of parents who are happy to pay, for our kids to do activities and stuff like this, but it's really important to us that they contribute to it for a bunch of different reasons. I mean, not only do we feel like it's just sends a good lesson, but it teaches them new skills like, how to plan to raise the money and all that kind of stuff, right? So, so we talked to Chloe, and she came up with a number of $225 is what she should contribute. Now she doesn't work at all. She's 14 years old. She's going to start working when she's 15. She could be babysitting now, but our thought process is, she's going to school, and when the pain of not having money becomes great enough, she'll figure out something. She'll get a job, or when she can get a job when she's 15, or she'll babysit or something like that. But this was a really interesting opportunity or situation, because it was like, well, if you had been babysitting and saved up some money, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, right? Like you would have the money to go. However, what happened was, in order to raise the $225, she really needs plans. Like, she's a very structured person. And so we said, you need to come up with a plan about how you're going to make this money. And I don't want to go into all the details because it doesn't really matter. But what ended up happening was she felt completely overwhelmed and just shut right down after a number of conversations about how she was going to create a plan and what she was going to need to do in order to get enough babysitting jobs to make $225 in the next 2 months. And I think that level, I think what contributed to my feelings about it was $225. I mean, honestly, in 2 months, doing some babysitting jobs is not very many. It's like 8, tops, probably even less than that. So one a week, probably even less than that. And she already had some lined up with where she could help my mom with her cousins, her younger cousins. But anyways, so she felt totally overwhelmed. She's like, I'm just going to tell my friend, I'm not going. That's it. I'm not going. And there was so much that went on in my head. Oh my God. Because number one, it's really important to me that we respect her choices. Okay. You have the power to make the choice to do the work to go or to not go. And making the choice to not go will have natural consequences. Or making the choice to not go or do the work will have natural consequences. And that's that you won't be going to New York. Now, at the same time, I'm like thinking, what kind of precedent is it actually going to, when should I be pushing this kid and kicking her in the ass to make her go, right? Because am I setting a precedent with her where I'm letting her just be a slacker? She's not a slacker, but I mean, this is what was going through my head. Like, at what point do I just let her be? At what point do I let her just be, like, not go? Because I'm having all these visions of her becoming a sloth of a teenager who lets overwhelm, dictate her actions, and, who blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, right? And then, so as we're talking about it, we said we're really going to respect your choice, but I had to say something, and I was kind of upset about it. And, like, not yelling or anything like that, but like, I was like, how can you be turning this opportunity down? Like, don't you understand, like, the path? I've told you so many times that the path to dealing with feeling overwhelmed is to break it down into the smallest thing, and blah, blah. Anyways, it was the wrong thing to say, and it might have been the right thing to say, or possibly a constructive thing to say at some point, but it was the wrong thing to say at the time I said it, and the way I said it was certainly the wrong way to say it, like for sure. And so she just locked up. And so then I'm like really quite feeling very upset about it. Like, and I'm thinking, why am I feeling upset? Why am I so attached to this, whether this kid goes to New York or not? And for me, I think when I talked to Tanya about it, which is always super helpful for me, there's a lot going on there. Like, okay, first, I'm not sure how to handle it as a parent. Like, as I said earlier, do I kick my kid in the ass or what? The other part of it is, I have all these visions of her becoming depressed and like, just, knowing full of regret and knowing she's feeling like the kind of person who won't go after opportunities. But I actually think that the main thing that I was feeling upset about or feeling whatever about was that maybe she didn't want my help, because I spend a hell of a lot of time working to help people. And I know how to do this stuff. I know how to break things down, and I know how to motivate people, but I couldn't motivate her. And I think that actually really bothered me, because I'm like, how can I help these guys from all over the fucking world and not help my own daughter? And I felt like I had the path, and she didn't want to take it. And Tanya pointed out to me, like, as we were talking about this, and like, I'm okay with having those feelings, because again, there's no wrong emotions, but trying to understand them is really fucked up. So, Tanya was telling me, like, dude, this trip, whether she goes to New York or not on this trip, is not going to define the course of her life. And would you have done this when you were her age? And I was like, yeah, you know what? No, I mean, not at all. I never would have like seized the initiative like this when I was 14. And she said, that she wouldn't have either. And anyways, to make a long story short, I went and I worked out hard, and it was incredible how much that helped me just feel better about the whole thing. Like, just moving my body and exercising. By the time I was about halfway through my workout, I was fine with the whole thing, and really understood that, the choice is hers, and it's one single trip in the scope of her whole life. And she does work hard, and she contributes around the house, and she tries in school and all that kind of stuff. So like, all my catastrophizing was really probably unnecessary. But I have this tendency to do this sometimes, where I extrapolate out to a totally illogical conclusion. And I think part of it is because I'm an analytical person. And I think part of it, I feel like part of it is a remnant from all the shit that happened with Cindy, her illness, her death, and all that stuff. Because I saw everything go up in smoke, like just, or burn to the ground, or whatever you want to call it. And maybe that's part of the reason I do that. Because I find when things, if I have a disagreement with Tanya about something, I tend to extrapolate this out to the end of our relationship. And we have a freaking amazing relationship. And I do the same. I was doing the same thing with Chloe. Like, I was extrapolating out this one thing into the worst possible, or not the worst possible, but a terrible outcome, many, many years down the road. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm realizing how unhelpful that is, because how would I know how things are going to turn out? There's 50 million variables and a million choices that will be made between now and then. And all of these things, catastrophizing like that is totally non-helpful. And I'm actually really interested to think about why it is that I do that in certain situations. I don't tend to do that. I mostly do that with the relationships now that I'm closest with. And again, it's not like I spend all my time doing that. I rarely do it, but I do it in certain contexts, which is a really interesting thing, because I think that the relationships with the people I'm closest to hold a really special place in my heart, as I'm sure they do for everybody. But there's a lot in there, like, that maybe I'm just afraid of getting fucked up. Maybe I'm afraid of, because having lost this kind of thing already once with Cindy, I think there's still this really lingering fear about it happening again. And I have never really thought about that, I don't think, until just right now. I don't think I've thought about it. And I don't really know what to do with that, actually. Although I'm going to talk to Tanya about it. That's one thing I'm definitely going to do. So, anyways, I don't know. I guess that's probably all I have to say or think about there right now. But later in the day, Chloe wanted to go out with some friends. And anyways, what ended up happening was Chloe went out with some friends. And she called and said, Tanya told her she could come home at 9. And she said, is it okay? She called and said, is it okay if I stay out till 10? Because my friend is going to give me a ride home. My friend's mom or something is going to give me a ride home. And I said, yeah, no problem. And so she ended up, her friend's mom was late and blah, blah, blah. And she ended up coming home at 11:30. And Tanya was upset about that but what I was really happy about was, not that she was upset, but, it was a misunderstanding. We'll talk about it this morning, but I did a really good job of, really looking for the underlying value in what was making her upset. Because, in my way of thinking, it's like, okay, like, I trust her. She's not out doing anything wrong. Like, yeah, if we let her be out all the time to this late, that's not good for a 14-year-old. But it was just a set of circumstances. And we can talk about it in the morning and learn from it and, just figure out how we might handle something like that again. So I'm not overly worried about it or anything. But what I really tried to focus on when Tanya was talking and she was upset, and I felt like she was attacking me. Like, this wouldn't have happened if you had let her come home at 10, or if we just said 9 like I wanted to, because she could have walked home and when it was still light out. I'm like, well, fair enough. Okay. But anyways, I did feel like she was kind of attacking me, but I'm really proud of the way I handled that situation, because what I tried to do is look for the underlying value in that. So a lot of times when people are upset, myself included, like one of the reasons we're upset is because we hold something dear underneath. And I think searching for that is really helpful. So she was upset about that for a couple of reasons. And what I tried to think about in the moment was that, okay, it's really, really important for her to be a great mother, right? Because, this situation, as I was saying yesterday, this situation is one that where a series, she already had a plan with her and then I changed it. And a series of events happened, and now like she's at 11. It's like after 11 o'clock, and she's still out. And what if this becomes like sets a precedent and all this kind of stuff? But anyways, my point in saying all that is that I could see clearly that the underlying value is that she wants to be a great mother. That's what's really important to her, and she wants to have an open, clear relationship with our kids, where the expectations are clear and all of that kind of stuff. So, I just really thought about that value, and also that having that same kind of relationship with us is really important to her. Open, communicative, talking about the permutations. Like I said yesterday, I'm never really going to think things through to the level that she does, but so I searched for that. And so even though she was quite upset there for a bit, not for a long time, but I really tried to focus on that and just be curious and understand that. And, I found it really helpful. It really helped me stay completely calm, and understand that, yeah, factually what I did by letting her stay till 10 when she called was sort of did contribute to this, although I couldn't have foreseen that. And honestly, I'd probably do it again. It's not that I would do it again. We'll talk about it and come up with a, strategy for together, the three of us, like including Chloe, and about how to handle this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was really good how I was able to do that in the moment, because sometimes the whole stimulus and response thing is a struggle for me, especially in my closest relationships, or really my relationship with Tanya. Now, another thing that happened yesterday was something I need to and want to figure out is when we were out going for a walk last night, we went for a really nice long walk last night, and we ended up bumping into my parents, which they live around the corner from us. And we often see them in the neighborhood, which is really nice, because I used to live 500 kilometers, or for Americans, 300 miles away. And we only saw them 4 or 5 times a year. But I have sometimes this I love my mother a lot. and she's a wonderful human being. And I mean, I'm super glad she's my mother, and we have a lot of good times and good laughs together. And I love when they come over. But there's some things that cause this reaction. I mean, it's almost like this visceral reaction that she does, and I don't know why I let myself care, or why. I mean, if I care, I care. But I mean, why I react to it. Like, so one of them is that I feel like she's not overly intellectually curious at all, and that she just listens to shit that people say on the news and takes it as verbatim. And there's something about that that triggers me. I just find it so annoying. And why? Why do I find that annoying? And I react to it. Like, I'm not mean, but I can be a little curt, let's say. And sometimes my annoyance, I would say, shows through, like I'm not the best at hiding it, and which is so fucking dumb. Like, she's a wonderful person, and she's not going to change, and nor should she have to. She shouldn't have to change for my benefit. But the way I look at it is, if you just took my approach to always questioning everything, you'd understand things at a deeper level, and maybe we could have more meaningful conversations. But conversations that are maybe more meaningful to me. And who's to say they would be more meaningful? But why do I feel like my way of thinking about the world is better than her way of thinking about the world? I mean, we were talking about food yesterday, for example, and she's had diabetes for, I don't even know if she actually officially has diabetes, but she was diagnosed with either like a low thing of diabetes, like low, whatever you want to call it. Like, she has diabetes, but it's not super serious. But the reason it's not super serious is because she has managed it like a fucking boss for 20 years. She's lost a ton of weight. She's religious about her exercise. She's in tune with her blood sugar. Now, I think that the way that the Diabetes Association tells her to eat makes no sense. But it doesn't jive with my beliefs. That's why I think it makes no sense. But I mean, God, she's managed it for 20 years. Like, I should be giving her a fucking shitload of credit for that, right? But she brought up something about healthy eating yesterday, and I don't know, I just felt annoyed because we have different ideas of what healthy eating is. And so I need and want to get past this idea that my way of thinking about things is better. I normally don't think that, but it's just, again, it's something in these close relationships that I know it's because I want what's best for her and I value her relationship. But what I want, what I think is best for her and what she thinks is best for her is ultimately, it's okay that that's different. And ultimately what's best for her is for her to choose, obviously. So I need to be okay with that, and I need to just let it go. And most of the time I can, but there's certain times that I struggle with it. Last night was one of those times. I think part of it was I had a lot going on in my head about Chloe and all that kind of stuff. But regardless, there's no excuse. I want to develop have a level of self-awareness and self-mastery where I'm, I just own my reactions. And I mean, I know that's going to be a lifetime journey, but what I want to focus on is and again, looking for the underlying value there is that I really value my relationship with my parents, and I want them to be around for a long time. And I'm sure they will be. They're super active, and that's not the thing. So anyways, quite an interesting day related to family and emotions yesterday, and I got a lot of thinking to do, and I really love this monologue thing. Again, James Pennebaker. I'm going to post a link in the show notes page because I think it might want to look it up. But anyways, have a great day, everybody. And I think I might feel better.